Welcome to part 4 of animating trains. Again, you need to do parts 1, 2, and 3 before you're able to do this one. I'm Mr. Jamie, and let's get started. Alright, so go ahead and open your Animator software, then click File, Open, and find the file you've been working on, your train file, and open that. And once it's ready, we're going to click Mode, then Sequence. Click Settings, then Sequence. And then we're going to change the name to Wheels, and we'll click the ... box. A list of figures comes up. You only have one. Click your train figure and click OK. Change the frames to 48, and once again click OK. Now click View, then All. Use your select arrow and double click on one of the wheel bones in front view, the bones that are sticking straight at you in front view. You've got to get right in the center to get on that bone. On the box that comes up, we want to click the boxes for XYZ straight down under the word free. Don't click anything under locked, LCKD, leave those the way they are. Click the boxes under no limits straight down XYZ, and then click OK. That programs our bones, tells the computer how the bones can move. Then once again, double click another wheel bone, and the box comes up again, and we got to program this one. So click the boxes under free, XYZ, and then go to the other side and click the boxes under no limits, XYZ. Click OK. Now double click the third wheel and do the same thing. Click the boxes under free, check, 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 and click the boxes under no limits, check, 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 click OK. This tells the computer this bone can move in any direction. It's the easiest way to do it. Now, click the animation key. It turns green. Use the select arrow and just click once on a wheel bone to have it selected. Click the plus sign next to wheels down on the timeline. This opens up the timeline. And then click to turn on axis indicator. Just follow the arrow on the screen for that. If it's showing green, you use the X. If it's showing blue, you use the Y. If it's showing pink, you use Z. It should be showing blue, but if it's not, use the appropriate letter. And then we want to double click the timeline in front of bone 04Y. Again, if it's a different color than blue, then substitute that letter instead of Y. And it's possible the number may vary. You want the white one. Click Add Key, enter 0, and then press OK. Now use your select arrow and double click at 01 on the timeline. It's right after the long line. Click Add Key. This time change the value to 360 and click OK. Should point out in the previous step I said to change it to 0. It's actually already 0, so you didn't have to change it. But here you do to make it 360. These are degrees of a circle. 360 is a full circle. Now select the next box over. You're just going to move one box on the timeline, double click it, and click Add Key, and this one we're going to change to 0 and click OK. So after we make one full rotation of 360, the next frame is going to change to 0, and then we can rotate it again. That just avoids a couple problems that could happen otherwise. There's other ways you could do that, but this is the simplest way. Might make a slight hiccup in the rolling, but it should work okay. Now use your select arrow and double click the very last frame of the timeline. Keep in mind you need to be double clicking these on the row for the bone 04Y, or whichever letter you're following. Now once you've double clicked that, click Add Key, change the value to 360 and click OK. And this will complete then 2 rotations during the sequence, and then the sequence will start over, and that'll keep the wheels rolling as long as we need them to roll. Now we got to do the other wheels. Now with your select arrow, once again click on the next wheel bone just once. Scroll down on the timeline until you see the white text again. If it matches mine, it'll be bone 06Y, but whichever one is in the white text, and get the corresponding letter, which should be Y, but if you had a different color it might be X or Z. Click Add Key. The value will stay 0, and we'll click OK. Now notice this is a different way of rotating the bones. In previous tutorials, we dragged them. Dragging for a complete circle causes problems. That's why we're doing it this way. Now double click at 1 second on the timeline. Again, this is after the line that goes all the way down the timeline. And click Add Key. Change the value to 360 and click OK. Once again, let me remind you that you want to click on the timeline on the row that corresponds to the correct bone. In this case, bone 06Y, though as I said, your numbers might be different. But ideally, they should be the same. But just in case, be aware of that. Now, double click the next box on the timeline, just 1 frame over, and click Add Key and change value to 0. And click OK. Once again, all we're doing here is at the 1 second mark, we have a full rotation, and then 1 frame after, we're resetting to 0. The full rotation in the 0 will look exactly the same. So when that wheel resets, you won't actually see it move. So it won't like suddenly spin backwards. It'll just, for 1 frame, it'll stop and then roll again. Shouldn't be very noticeable. Now double click the very end of the timeline on that row for bone 06Y or whatever your bone is called there. Click Add Key and change the value to 360 for your full rotation and click OK. So if you know your degrees of a circle, 360 is a full circle, 180 is a half circle, and that's how you use these numbers on the bones. Alright, so once the screen changes here, we'll move on. And here we go. Select arrow, click the 3rd bone wheel, and we're going to repeat this process. Scroll to find the white text. Double click the box in the timeline next to bone 08Y or whatever your bone says that's in white. Click Add Key, the value stays 0, click OK. Click the timeline box at 1 second, the long line going all the way across. Click Add Key, this time value 360, click OK. Now, and all these clicks are double clicks, double click the timeline 1 frame after 01 and Add Key, a value of 0. And hit OK, and double click the last frame, Add Key, and a value of 360, click OK. Get your select arrow, click a blank area just to deselect everything, and now you can watch your wheels spin. Click the play button or use the right arrow on your keyboard. Remind you that this does not play back real time, it just plays back as quick as the computer can process. Using the arrow on the keyboard will make it play back at at least close to normal time. Click File, then Save, then click Mode, then Object. Click Object, then New. Click Settings, then Object. We're going to rename it to say Tracks because we're going to make some train tracks here. And click OK. So if you think about how do I make train tracks? Well, I need 2 long rails, right? So cylinders, good for that. And then I need boards. So cubes are good for boards, obviously. So let's build those. Now we want them to be the size to fit the train. So I'll show you how we're going to do that. First, let's get a cylinder tool, and we'll do this in top view. Slide a cylinder from left to right or drag it in. Try to make it straight. Then click Build, then Convert to Mesh. Use your stretch tool, and we're going to flatten it in both front and top views. If you only flatten it in one view, then it will have a weird shape. You got to do both views. And then we're going to use our stretch tool in top view, and we're going to make it so it fills up most of the screen, make it fairly long. As far as color, we're just going to leave it that gray color. That's a good color for tracks. And now we're going to go to Edit. We usually do Copy, but this time we're going to do Cut. So Edit, Cut, it will actually disappear. You will have a blank object. Then go to Object, the Object menu, click Full Train, and then click Edit, and then click Paste. And there your rail will appear with the train. The reason for this is we want the rails to be the right distance for the wheels. So we're going to set them up right on the full train here so we can see how far to make them from one wheel to the next. So use your Move tool in left view and move the rail under one of the wheels. And then Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste, and use the move tool again to move the copy over to the other wheel. Get it directly so it lines up with the wheel, so the wheel would be right on top of it. Use your select arrow and right click on the rail that is not currently selected. That will select it along with the one that is selected. Then go to Edit Cut and then Object Tracks. Do an edit paste, and now both copies of the rail should appear. Use your move tool, and we want to actually sit it on the line, up above the line technically, as if it were just sitting on that line. That will cause it to come out in the right place. Use your cube tool and drag in top view to make a nice cube. Convert it to mesh under build. Use your stretch tool and stretch it into a rectangular shape in top view to look like a train track board. Use your move tool to get it in place between the tracks. Now let's color. Yay! Not double click, one click to activate the materials editor, the 4 dots at the top. Now double click on the word new and the materials editor opens up. We're going to move the color selector between orange and yellow and then fade with the fader into brown. So brown exists between orange and yellow, but if you don't fade it, you have orange instead of brown. So you got to fade it down, click OK, and then click Apply, and we have a brown board. Now we're going to do an Edit Copy, Edit Paste. Use our Move tool to move our copied board over, and then we're going to do Edit Copy, Edit Paste. Use our Move tool to move the board over. And then we're going to do Edit Copy, Edit Paste. Use the Move tool to move the board over. See a pattern here? You're going to just keep doing that until you have enough boards to go all the way down the rail. This will be one section of track that we will lay several of to make the full scene. So you might need to pause here to get all that done. Keep in mind, anywhere in the video you can pause to do the steps. Alright, Object, New, Settings, and then Object, the object under Settings, and then name it Ground. Click OK. Get the Cube tool, and we're going to drag and add a cube. Do a Build, Convert to Mesh. What we're actually going to make here is some ground. So we don't just have the grid when we're making our video that's in scene view, but actual ground. Very simple ground though. All right, use your stretch tool and flatten it in front view. And then in top view, you want to make it fill up the entire view. You want to, with the stretch tool, you want to click on the bottom left corner and scroll up to the right top corner several times until it's large enough. Then double click New on the color selector, get green, fade it to a good dark green, click OK, click Apply, and use your Move tool to move it so that it's sitting on the line in the center of the view. Now we need another object new, Settings Object. We're going to name it Tree. Click OK. Use our Cube tool in front view, and we want a rectangle going up and down the size of a tree trunk because we're making a tree. Get your Sphere tool, and we'll add a sphere on the top. You can use the Move tool to move it into position if it's not quite right. Double click New on the color thing again, and with the color selector we want a green but darker than the green we used for the grass, for the ground. Click OK, apply the color, double click New on the next color, and use the color selector to make brown between orange and yellow. Fade it into the right shade, click OK, and it's missing a step here. You need to click the Select tool, select the tree trunk, and then click Apply. And then click File, then Save. Never forget to save. Save the documents. All right, that's going to be all for today's tutorial. We are not done. There will be a part 5 as it is taking more time than originally anticipated. Part 5 will be the finish, and we will have a completed scene, a completed video of our train at the end of the next week's video. So until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a great week. Bye.